Hello everyone. Today I'm going to speak about one of the biggest misconceptions about, spiritual awakening. For all these years, people have been writing me about different ailments. A lot of people write books even about Kundalini syndromes, Kundalini awakening symptoms and processes. They blame Kundalini awakening, third eye awakening, whatever spiritual awakening, certain types of activation for, their ailments. They say that they've been activated, they experienced awakening, and then they experience some sort of physical, mental, or emotional ailments. They experience different forms of, fluctuations, mood swings, hormonal issues, and so on and so forth. Well, to me, it's the biggest hoax about Kundalini awakening, because in reality, spiritual awakening or conscious awakening, Kundalini awakening, third eye awakening, whatever you call it, and through whichever tradition or spiritual stream of understanding you look at these things, it has nothing to do with pain, it has nothing to do with suffering, it has nothing to do with spiritual possession, it has nothing to do with neither physical, emotional, or mental sickness. Now, why do people experience all these things? And the reason for these is very simple. If you suffer migraine pains, if you suffer different autoimmune disorders, if you suffer different syndromes, IBS syndromes, digestive issues, gynecological issues, urinary tract issues, bladder issues, any form of issues with nervous system, fibromyalgia, viral supposedly infections that affect your nervous system, different types of liver diseases, bone diseases, kidney diseases, blood diseases, skin diseases, rashes, and so on and so forth, especially when you say that you have them activated after supposedly awakening, or you say that because you have them, they are the signs of awakening, you must be in delusion. And you start looking for the solution in all the wrong places. And it took me also some time to realize that, because learning is a fluid process. We cannot know it all the time, right away, and we can't know it all. Now, if you suffer any of these diseases, if you go into psychotic episodes, if you had some kind of drug-induced supposedly awakening, and then you got into mental institution, or you had psychotic episodes, or you had some kind of a nervous or mental emotional breakdown. Now let's take a look at what could it be. And the answer is very simple. It's the activation of your parasites, because a lot of people have parasites which are dormant. Now, if supposedly you had some sort of an activation of the upper glands, it starts activating or reactivating your entire metabolic system. And so it wants to purge. But unfortunately, the first thing you start having is parasitic energy retaliation, because you're a host to parasites, and it applies to the majority of our human population at this point. I'm not a doctor, this is a disclaimer. I'm not trying to advise you anything. It is a perspective sharing. And it can be valid for you, or you may ignore it. But the thing is that most of your ailments, if you suffer whatever I mentioned, if you have different types of, even strange, as you call them, kriyas occurring, different strange movements, especially if they're very erratic and, kind of, I would say, reminding the possession. The reality is that you may be possessed, and everyone is possessed. But you have to look at this from the physical and spiritual points of view, because your system is hacked. And the moment you spiritually activate, your system becomes or has access to the collective darkness through the presence of these pathogens in your digestive system, in your blood. So now when you have reconnected, let's say, to the higher existence, to the source, instead of cultivating yourself, now you are disturbed by the presence of the parasitic energy in the body, and thus also in the mind or in the consciousness, because these parasitic hosts or entities become the hosts to the negative forms of subtle energy or subtle negative energy from the collective. So you start being harnessed, depleted by these parasites on the physical and on the spiritual level. Then you wonder how you're losing your energy, why this Kundalini awakening is causing you fatigue. These are not the symptoms of Kundalini awakening. These are the signs of the fact that you have not been guided properly. You have not spent enough time, say 10, 12 years at least, refining your system, preparing your physical vehicle. At least you should have spent a year preparing your system, detoxing it, deworming it. Why do you think all these spiritual schools of the ancient times emphasized spiritual refinement before attempting to awaken Kundalini or third eye, or in general before spiritual initiation? There must be a wisdom there, right? And so when you go around, stimulate or overstimulate your nervous system by intaking certain substances, herbal or whatever chemical drugs, hoping to awaken your third eye, hoping to get access to certain, dimensions, trip, the reality is very sad afterwards, because you open portals through these experiences, and yet these portals cannot, especially if these are parasitic portals, or let's say the links to the parasitic negative forms of energy or energy clusters within the collective or even beyond this collective, they won't have access to you unless you have the presence, the parasitic presence within your body, within your system, which becomes an access point. Some people are spiritually poisoned, so sometimes it is not just the natural parasitic energy acquired from the environment or from the food or from the lifestyle, but it is a deliberately, imposed pathogen into one system. And we speak about spiritual possession, spiritual, manipulation, black magic, when someone is trying to harness your system, harness your energy. So this is the same thing. But in both cases, you have to spend a great deal of time preparing your system, ridding yourself of any forms of parasitic energy, especially on the physical level, because that's what you can do at least right away, in order to purify your blood, purify your digestive system, purify your nervous system, your channels, and so on and so forth. And the purification of the channels goes hand in hand with the purification of the physical vehicle. A lot of people spend, waste time doing this and that, and that yet they do not address the main cause. They twist their body, they breathe actively. Again, it's like going backwards instead of addressing the first, the primary foundation, which is the physical well-being. That's why there were all these ancient science like Siddha healing, Ayurveda, to purify the body first, to understand the anatomy. And the anatomy is not biological only, it's a biospiritual anatomy. so that we can understand the way our body functions and interacts with the physical reality, as well as with the subtle reality, because the subtle reality is important. If you are not protected by the high awareness and by the purity of your bio-spiritual system, you will be an energetic food to someone else. And I've been trying to tell this on and on. There are other videos that are there which speak about parasites and how to, give certain basic guidelines. Certainly, it is something that you have to receive directly from a true spiritual teacher. So, you are not supposed to have this real awakening experience, and most of the people are not having real awakening experiences. What they're having is the experience of occult affliction, which again happens because they host this parasitic energy, which become the portal, the bridge, the link to the collective darkness. And say, whoever represents this collective darkness, whether it's entity, whether it's whatever energy cluster, or it's a human being like a magician or a black magician, whatever they call themselves, shaman, tantric, they will see an opportunity to possess you, to suck your energy, to manipulate you for whatever reason. So, and they would not be able to do this unless you have or you are a host to that parasitic energy. And until you rid yourself of that parasitic energy, whatever your spiritual realizations, your intellectual, understanding of life, contemplation, will have no meaning in your spiritual, physical reality, because none of these matter, because they represent your, incompetence on the spiritual and physical level. Because if you cannot rid yourself of parasitic energy, you cannot really become a vessel, a protected, spiritually protected vessel, a vessel of divinity, a vessel of spiritually high frequency radiation. You will be depleted, you will be suffering until you defeat the darkness from within. And to defeat the darkness from within, we should start with the physical level, and by detoxifying, deworming, using certain antiparasitic solutions of herbal, alchemical level, we free ourselves, we remove the host that could be possessed by negative energy, and thus we seal our system, we conceal our system energetically, so no one can harness our energy, no one can hack our solar plexus or digestive system or sacral level here. No one can deplete us of spiritual energy that we are so tediously trying to cultivate. There is no cultivation, there is no establishment in absorption or the natural being. There is no way that you can proceed spiritually until and unless you've done this preparation for the actual reception of these spiritual vibrations. You cannot cultivate. Your mind will be wandering because you will be possessed. You will be sucked out. You will go unexpectedly, uncontrollably into anxious and restless mode. Anxiety, restlessness, pain means there is a leakage of energy. You're depleted one way or the other, and you cannot identify the source. Then you start running around, going to doctors, looking for solutions, when the solution is one. It could be that you go and you look for solutions for IBS, or for endometriosis, or for PMS, premenstrual, postmenstrual syndrome, or you run around looking for solution for migraine pains, for stiffness, for pressures. Then you read a lot of things on the internet or watch some videos, and then you say, oh, I must be going through awakening. This is spiritual awakening, this is Kundalini awakening, this is third eye awakening, this is chakra awakening or activation. No, it's a nonsense, it's the biggest hoax. and you've been hoaxed and you've been hacked, because none of these are Kundalini awakening, spiritual awakening, third eye activation. You are experiencing spiritual possession. You are experiencing a subtle form of possession. Your mood swings. Your mind fluctuates. You have constant thoughts. Thoughts are the same representations of parasitic energy on a subtle level. Like worms are wriggling, thoughts are coming in your space of consciousness, contaminating it. They are sucking energy from the energy body. That's why you're depleted. Depending on the type of information, this information is processed by the energy body and transferred, secreted, transmitted into your physical vehicle. Then certain organs do not get energy, get depleted, get infested by parasitic energy of the physical nature. And so it's very important to understand this very fact. So when you look for all these solutions, the reason could be one. For all these ailments that I mentioned, all your nervous system issues, all your, pains, especially those that you can't really explain or doctors can't find the solution. Nothing is just like that in this world. And as long as we look at the physical aspect alone, we can't find the solution, because the solution very often is on the subtle dimension, or there is a link between our physical body and the subtle dimension. And when we are on the spiritual path, there's no need to look for YouTube videos with the signs of awakening, when none of these signs that I mentioned are a sign for Kundalini or spiritual awakening, real awakening. Now, let me tell you what real awakening is. It is absolute bliss. It's such a bliss that cannot be described. It's definitely peace. And how can you be at peace if your system is hacked by parasitic energy, whether on the physical or spiritual level, or both, which is usually the case, is both? Because your system has access to the collective darkness. And until you cut the links, and people think that it's enough to just sit there and do cutting the cords in the meditative state, this is nonsense. It's only relevant when the physical level is addressed. Then you can command, affirm, reprogram, so to speak, your system on a subtle level. As long as any form of parasitic energy is present on the physical level, whether in the intestines or organs or blood in general, anywhere, even in the brain sometimes, your system becomes hacked energetically. You may be possessed, you may be influenced from the collective, deliberately, knowingly or unknowingly. You might become a host to some other energy. That's where we witness the phenomenon of possession. Possession by abuse of drugs or certain herbal substances in the name of spirituality, or for whatever else reason. We observe, people going into all these different fits, different kinds of mental flippage and, fluctuation. Suddenly they have suggestions, suddenly they have thoughts, suddenly they observe something. And this is because they are infested by parasites that create an easy access to whatever force there is there in our collective that represents darkness, that represents limitation. And because it represents limitation, it depends on the sustenance. It needs that conscious energy that each and every of us as human souls generate. And human soul means you have still that connection with the higher realm, with the light, meaning the higher frequency. Some of us still have that. And so we definitely then become a prey for these forces. So especially if you're a highly vibrant soul, and if your body has parasitic energy, you will be harnessed, you will be disturbed. And you might wonder why your path is full of disturbance, full of pain, full of suffering. It's because you're not addressing the right reason, because you're not guided properly. And you're looking for all these solutions in all the wrong places. No doctors can answer your questions. And they can, investigate your situation, and they might not be able to connect all these different symptoms into one coherent line, because usually they look at health and wellness from a different perspective, from a perspective that is limited, that cannot give you the solution that you're looking for. And so the solution is by spiritual refinement. It has to go hand in hand with the refinement of the physical vehicle first, which then ascends further or is supplemented with the mental, emotional refinement. And yes, we can say that spiritual trauma, whatever trauma, can be a reason for spiritual possession, psychosis. But again, it's because there's also something else that is a link, that is a bridge, that is a portal within the physical body into that subtle dimension of the collective corrupt being, which is filled with negative energy. Trauma is a negative energy, curse, negative energy transmission. All these are negative energies. So most of the people have these negative attachments, and yet these negative attachments would lose their power over us if we had defeated the parasitic energy within our body, if we would rid ourselves of this energy. Now then, you become a pure vessel which can host spiritual vibration. That is the goal of spiritual evolution. You refine yourself. That's what sages, Siddha masters, all the true masters talked about. It's not a joke. It's not just incoherent type of exercises. I do this exercise, I do that. I just keep on gliding along the surface, collecting techniques, coming to this teacher, asking for a question, asking for some solution, and then I go to the other teacher. This superficiality is not acceptable on a real spiritual path, period. You are to be serious, and you have to focus on yourself. You have to understand it's not about any teacher. In true teachings, the teacher is there to make you strong. And you are to be strong when you find your own solutions, when you understand how to find the solution, when you get empowered, and then you start cultivating this power within yourself. But if you are not going or approaching this process of spiritual ascension, learning and evolution properly, you end up just going up and down, doing things in not either in proper order or in a kind of very confused state. You have to spend many months, many years sometimes, depending on your condition, purifying yourself. And eating healthy is not enough, because oftentimes, through my experience, I talk to lots of people, and I've been speaking for a long time to different people, different individuals who believe that they have Kundalini awakening and they eat healthy. When I take a look at their diet, whatever we consider as healthy at this point of time, it might not be really spiritually healthy, speaking from the standpoint of how this food or the condition of the food or the way we prepare it or the way we ingest it might not be suitable for this type of purification I'm speaking about. Because in comparison with the majority of people, it looks as healthy. And it looks as, okay, you lose weight, because that's not the point. That's not the goal. The goal is to understand that everything we ingest is a portal. Every plant, every vegetable, every fruit is a portal. It's a representation of a certain energy level within the natural world. And the natural world is not just the fragment that we see or perceive with our senses, which is nature. It is so much beyond. It is the subtle dimension that is governed by subtle forces. And when we do intake these substances, they may either be harmful, or they may open the system to certain portals or to certain dimensions within our collective that we might be not happy about. So remember that the realm we're living in is about food chain. And we think that we're out of this food chain, but actually we are within this food chain. Because we are a part of the food chain also energetically. And as I repeated myself many times, I say, either you eat or you become someone else's meal. And so, spiritually speaking, the whole point of spiritual, refinement and evolution means to become your autonomous being, the pure vessel containing higher frequency, higher vibration, higher form of consciousness and existence. And then, going further with the evolution beyond this physical vehicle. But as long as you're in the physical vehicle, you have to have a certain, you have to find the line, the straight line. And many people spend decades and lifetimes looking for the straight line everywhere around, gliding along the surface. Yet the line is here, it's within us. And yes, we can't access it because our mind is attached to the clusters of the parasitic energy within the collective, limited forms of understanding of life creation. And so we feed these forms of energy, of these clusters, ideologies, beliefs, different limited ideas, emotional clusters, and so on and so forth. So these are the forms of parasitic energy on the subtle level, which operate through us. On the physical level, not through us, through the parasites that we host. And so, the moment you rid yourself of these parasites, your mind becomes empty, tranquil. People spend thousands and thousands of dollars, euros, whatever, trying to calm their mind, meditate. It's impossible while you're hosting that parasitic energy. You can calm yourself down for a very short time. You won't be able to establish yourself in yoga, samana, samadhi, dhyan, meditation, all one and the same thing. You cannot establish yourself in a higher reality as long as you are dragged down by the presence of the parasitic energy. Your nervous system will be struggling. You will have pains. Your focus will be dragged to that area that is being eaten alive. That's why you're aging, decaying, the same reason. Because you're harnessed, because your energy, instead of going for the evolution, now is sucked out by the parasitic energy. On the physical and on the subtle, your nutrients do not give you enough nourishment. Whatever healthy diets you acquire, whatever healthy foods you intake, they all go to waste because parasites eat them. They don't get absorbed into your body. That's why people suffer malabsorption, IBS, different kinds of fluctuations of the digestive system. Organs fail because they don't receive enough minerals and to sustain the body. Because these minerals like iron, magnesium and other are absorbed by the parasites present in their system. Then they wonder why they still age. Why they still lose their energy, because aging is none other than wasting of physical and spiritual energy. And so the body starts decaying. The body goes, tries to heal itself. The presence of pathogens and parasitic energy creates chronic inflammation. Now, all these pains that I was speaking about, fibromyalgia, autoimmune diseases, different kinds of migraine pains, syndromes of this and that, they all are the result of the presence of parasitic energy affecting our nervous system, affecting our organs, because our body as a system tries to fight the chronic inflammation. These are all the signs of chronic inflammation: your arthritis, your different kinds of allergies, and also including mental and emotional disorders, because obviously the presence of the parasitic energy, the vitamin and mineral deficiency causes the abnormal function of the nervous system, of the brain. So there is no coherent communication, there is no proper energy circulation in the body starts malfunctioning, stagnating, having certain obstructions, pain, because the pain is the language of the body that yells, I lack energy, there is something wrong, the energy is getting sucked out of me. And yet the consciousness is so limited, so ignorant, that it doesn't understand. And it starts going to spiritual charlatans, to all these puppet masters who will harness your energy even more, who might even deliberately poison you spiritually so that they can harness your energy in the name of spirituality, in the name of spiritual evolution. Remember, spiritual evolution starts from the foundation. If the foundation is wobbly or not properly established, there is no way that you can achieve on the spiritual level anything, and there is actually nothing to achieve. It's all very scientific, the science that is simple, but yet which is not clearly understood. And so the point of this video is to map it out and to let a lot of poor victims understand that you were looking for solutions in the name of Kundalini awakening, third eye awakening, chakra activation, light body awakening, in all the wrong places. Going to people who have no solution because they're ignorant themselves. They delude themselves with bookish knowledge, spiritual concepts. They are not the living vessels of knowledge and experience. Because you're supposed to be an experience, you're supposed to go through this path yourself to know. This is not the knowledge that you can read in books. Who knows, maybe you find it somewhere. This is direct experience. And this is the knowledge that is received in order to be shared so that you can finally find the real path and start from the proper foundation. Without laying this foundation, you will not be able to perceive the natural being, or you will be able to perceive it in glimpses and it will be disturbed, and you will come into meditation, out of meditation, and going into different emotional fits, mental fits, being disturbed, then going again, okay, this technique doesn't work, this exercise doesn't work, let me go for this solution, let me go for some alchemy. And people cash out on you, fooling you, taking you for a spiritual ride. Neither they know nor you know. There is no reference point. Who is a living vessel of spiritual evolution? Do you have a reference point? Can you go beyond the body and perceive anything beyond that? People speak about spiritual experiences. So what? You have something in glimpses. You got out of the body. Spiritual evolution is not measured by that. Spiritual rank is not about what experiences you had. It's about the presence. And you can't have the spiritual presence. You can't have access to the subtler realms of knowledge or represent that through your vehicle as long as your vehicle is being hacked, depleted, your energy is harnessed, you're suffering pains. You have to go maybe through the process of ridding yourself of pains, healing yourself, becoming your own healer so that you can come to the straight line and really understand from a perceptual point of view, realize it through your vehicle, what peace, true spiritual awakening, bliss, higher forms of knowledge, contentment are. Without that foundation, it's absolutely impossible. Plus, The majority of people, and this is the reality, are someone else's energetic food. Someone else is harnessing you as we speak. Someone else is depleting you as we speak. And I wouldn't care less of knowing that you had some kind of vision in your meditation and you are dreaming of enlightenment. Enlightenment means becoming light in the body. You can become light in the body. You can enlighten your cells when you rid them of parasitic pathogens, parasitic presence. When you free your bloodstream from pathogens and parasitic energy. When you free your digestive system and organs from any form of parasites, worms, cellular parasites, fungi, and so on and so forth. When you sever the links with the collective darkness, it's a process. And unless you know this process, you remain in the darkness, supporting this darkness, feeding this darkness from within yourself, gliding along the surface and fooling your intellect and mind, hoping to get that holy grail. It's not possible. You can't fool consciousness. And consciousness at this point is embodied. So start with your biospiritual vehicle. Focus within, understand what's going on. Identify the reason of your unrest, anxiety, and pains. Remove parasitic energy. Reconnect, and you will see the spiritual path is not that which you imagined or thought it was while the parasitic energy was present in your vehicle. I hope this video raised some awareness and brought you a perspective that will change your life. Thank you very much for your attention, and may you be well, aligned, and free. And one note, spiritual freedom is that freedom of negative attachments and connections with this world. And as long as we host the parasitic energy of this world and feed it with our food, plus we also allow this energy to become host to negative energy forms from the subtle realm, we cannot achieve liberation, because spiritual liberation is that, being free, so that we untie ourselves. Fools think that they put on orange robes, yellow robes, red robes, white robes, and renounce themselves. As long as you haven't renounced yourself from the parasitic energy, you're forever bound to this. You're forever bound to the, the karmic cycle. Why? Because karma is the body, is the host of consciousness. And besides the fact that you're hosting your own consciousness, or kind of your own, but which is the part of the collective, you are a part of the darker collective, because you also host the other forms of organisms like parasites, fungi, worms, so pathogens that are portals to the subtle dimension. So these are the invisible attachments which become the hosts to false thoughts, to disturbing thoughts, to disturbing emotions. So when you are looking for enunciation, look for this within yourself. Stop fooling yourself around and renouncing supposedly the world. You cannot renounce the world, because this is the world. And that which might be within you, inside you, is the other type of world, is the subtle type of attachments that still keeps you bound, and you're just fooling your mind around, attaching yourself to different religions and schools and secret societies, all in vain, because fundamentally you're still ignorant, you're still bound. So stop dreaming of liberation. Roll up the sleeves if you have them, and do the dirty job. Address the primary thing, which is the parasitic energy that binds you to this realm. Thank you.